Hey guys, good to see you again. This is a little bit of a different week. We got Eric Zier somewhere on the screen here, and DJ Shockley, he's somewhere on the screen. Uh, Georgia number one in the nation. Number one in the nation. Is that rat poison, guys, or is that's a nice little banner to be toting around?
Well, listen, it can be rat poison if you start to read your press clippings for sure. And listen, we've talked about this from the start of this year. Once we beat Clemson, and all of a sudden catapult to number 2 in the country, where all the eyes of the nation were upon the Bulldogs, and there was a lot of positive press that was everywhere concerning the Dogs. There was worry right there. Do we start to read how good we are and now stop working to the standards of excellence that Coach Smart has set for this football team and that the leadership has set for this football team? That hasn't been the case yet. We've come out ready to play. We've been mentally sharp week in and week out. You have to think that mindset, that mentality, that culture will continue. But no question, once you catapult yourself to the number 1 spot in the country, and everybody has already written you into the college football playoffs, if you start believing that hype, it can be poison for you. But I think Coach Smart has done a remarkable job since he's gotten here of eliminating all of that noise, keeping this team focused on where they need to go. And if they've done anything, they've proved week in and week out that they're not reading the press clippings, that they are working to get better every single week.
I'll say this. I think we can all keep it real and say, hey, these kids are 18 to 22. They absolutely know that they're number 1 in the country. They absolutely know that everybody's looking at them as the number 1 team. Everybody's looking at them like they're already in the playoffs. But the one thing that I have found to be comforting is every single opportunity Kirby gets a chance to talk to the team, whether it's before the game, during the game, after the game, he is emphasizing the importance of being together and not listening to the press clippings and making sure that you're playing for the guy next to you. So he's always talking about team. He's always talking about being right for the guy next to you. And I think it bodes well for this situation. I think Georgia has always been in the spotlight, and obviously being number 1 in the country is a different spotlight. But this is a team that I think is made for this moment. It's made to have this kind of spotlight, and I think they'll play well under that number 1 mantra, because I think they have felt as though they are a top caliber team and should be there all year. So this is just another, just say, thorn in the side for Kirby to have to worry about. But I don't think it will bother the players, because at the end of the day, and we've seen him, when they get on that field, they get between those lines, it doesn't look like those guys are worried about what people are saying on the outside. It don't look like they're reading the press clippings, because they are playing with their hair on fire and playing some good ball.
Jock, I think one of the things that helps with this is the fact that we've got teams that are coming in that are also on a roll. You've got Kentucky coming in, they're undefeated, they're number 11 in the country. There's a lot of buzz about them as well. So it captures your attention as a player. When Arkansas came in, they were number 8 in the country. When you go play Auburn, one of the more difficult venues to play in the SEC, really across the country, you've got to be ready for that. So the level of competition that we've been playing through the month of October, it really forces your hand to go focus on the task at hand. And you don't have much time to sit back and read press clippings, because you know the teams coming in are playing pretty good football.
True.
A lot of work to do for Georgia to get where they want to go. And as you point out, Z, Kentucky comes in number 11 in the country, the only other undefeated team in the Southeastern Conference. Maybe this is a little bit newer to them in football. I know 3 years ago, I think it was a top 10 matchup, Georgia and Kentucky in Lexington, when the Cats had Benny Snell on their team, and you remember that game. They were jacked up, and the stadium was crazy, and Georgia handled that very well and won the game 34-17. Is this atmosphere? Do you feel like this atmosphere and this matchup has a little bit of a different feel to it now than that one did 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. One, coming into Athens, I think our place is going to be absolutely crazy. It's funny. You take a look at the start of the season, and you looked at our schedule, and you really didn't think that you would have these kind of premier matchups. And all of a sudden, you've got Arkansas coming in, where it's a top 10 matchup. Kentucky now undefeated. We're number one in the country. I think the Dog Nation is rightfully fired up, and I think you'll hear that and see that in the atmosphere that we create. I think this is a better Kentucky football team right now than it was several years ago. Coach Stoops has done a remarkable job with that program, and every year he's in it, he is just reinforcing the culture that he wants to create. I think they've got playmakers on the offensive side of the football. They are always physical on the defensive side. So I think this is an improved Kentucky team over what we've historically seen, and they're playing with an awful lot of confidence. And it's just I expect it, especially when you look how banged up the Dogs are right now and kind of the gauntlet that we've had to run through. This is going to be a very physical football game. I think it's one that if the Dogs go up and play to their level of or their standard, it's a game that we should win. But I think it's going to be another great football game.
Scott, I really believe playing in Athens in front of 92,000 makes a difference. I mean, we go back to the Arkansas game, and the first two snaps of the ball game, they got two dudes, jumping off sides and having penalties, and they're back to a 1st and 20 because the crowd is there and it's noon. You imagine what it's going to be like at 3:30 with everything on the line and what Kentucky's bringing in. And Kentucky said, hey, they're ready for this type of matchup, and they weren't ready for it, the last time they came to Athens. Well, I look at it, and I looked at Kentucky's schedule. The only place that they have really been on the road this year is South Carolina, and the max there was 77,000. You're talking about walking into a place that's 92 plus, screaming red and black this weekend. Obviously, maybe some people be, in the pink out, but it's going to be electric. It's going to be one of those environments that they're not used to this year. Yeah, they may have some guys who played a bunch of ball in the SEC, but this team is different. Every team is different from all the other teams, and they got to find a way to come in here and find a way to kind of get this crowd to settle down. But I think this is going to be a will of a ball game. I obviously believe Kentucky's going to come in here and give you everything they got, because that's what they're about. That's what Stoops is about. But I absolutely believe the fans and the environment and that crowd makes a difference in a 4-quarter ball game at Sanford Stadium.
What are you guys seeing that we're doing right now that assures, well, that's probably not the right word, but I'm going to say it anyway, assures Georgia of winning the game? What do you see that we're doing that is superior to our opponents right now?
You know what? I'll jump in first, Z. I think on the defensive side of the ball, we're getting to the quarterback. I know we're tied for first in the SEC with 22 sacks. We're tied for 5th in the country with 22 sacks. We're changing the line of scrimmage, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We're changing the line of scrimmage and forcing quarterbacks to be uncomfortable. Just think about the last, 6 weeks or whatever it's been, and you think about the quarterbacks and they're flying all around the field. Or, I was down there last week watching Bo Nix, and it felt like every time he got off the ground, it was slower and slower and slower getting up off the ground, trying to pick himself up because the Dogs were just hitting him. They're after him. And some of that's him running around and all that, but that's because Georgia forced him to, and he was trying to make plays. Think about what they did to big KJ Jefferson. Look what they did to Uyunglele. I mean, every single quarterback they faced, they have made his life a living hell. So it's fun to watch this defense. It's fun to watch these guys get after it. But I truly believe the winning factor, as me and Z can attest to, is when you can frustrate and you get confused and you can put the quarterback in uncomfortable spots, that makes it hard. And I don't see many teams doing 10, 11, 12 play drives versus this defense. We're not giving up the big plays. People are not getting behind us, and we're getting after the quarterback. We're only giving up 66 yards a game in the run game. I mean, that's winning defense, and it's causing problems for everybody that Georgia faces.
So I completely agree with everything that Shock just said. I'll take the offensive side of the ball, though, just to provide a different perspective of it. We are taking what defenses are giving us, and we are extremely efficient right now. When you go to the Arkansas game and they really forced our hand to run the football, we dominated the game running the football. Last week, Auburn really gave us looks where we needed to throw the football and take some shots downfield. It's exactly what we did, and we were able to connect on a number of big plays there. And then when called upon, sealed the game with just a dominant running performance there in the 4th quarter. But Coach Monken and this offensive staff, we've been as efficient as we've been in a long time on the offensive side of the ball. We're patient, taking what defenses are giving us, in making plays when called upon. So it is a complete team effort right now across the board. Starts and ends with that defensive unit and what they're doing for sure. But offensively, there's a lot of good things that are coming out as well.
And Z, how scary is it that we're missing like 4 of our top players on offense? I mean, come on, we had Burden out last week. You got you got a bunch of guys who are missing. I mean, Arian Smith, one of the fastest guys on the team, is not even out there. I mean, Blaylock is not out there. I mean, you got so many guys that's on this offense that could be. Pickens is not there, and this offense is still playing at that level. It makes it scary to see if all these guys are playing at one time, compared with what the defense is doing, what Georgia will look like now. It's crazy.
No doubt about that.
Last thing for you guys, we know what Georgia wants to do. The method that Georgia comes in with each and every week is, number one, stop the run of the opponent, and then you go from there. If you're Kentucky, what are you looking to do to stop Georgia? What's number one for the Cats to take away from Georgia when they come to town this weekend?
Yeah, so I'll jump in there first. Any team coming in has to try to make us one-dimensional and take away our running game and force us to throw the football to beat us. When we get our running game going, we are an extremely difficult team to beat because we slow the game, or we speed the game up, really shorten the clock. And just when you have that defense that is so dominant, if you're allowing us to run the football on top of it, we become very difficult to beat. So I think Kentucky's going to come in, try to eliminate us running the football. And then on the offensive side of the ball, they've got to find a way to hit some big plays. Shock just mentioned it. Getting 10, 11, 12 play drives against this defense is extremely difficult to do. You've got to take shots. You've got to connect on shots and be explosive if you expect to have any kind of success against this Georgia defense.
I think on the other side, if Kentucky wants to have any opportunity to be in this ball game, they got to force Georgia in some third and long situations. If Georgia's in 3rd and 3 or 4, you're going to roll grid them. You're going to pick it up. You got this big offensive line. You got tough physical backs that get downhill. If you can force Georgia some 3rd and long and turn it into some obvious pass situations, then you may have an opportunity to make some hay, because this is a defense coming in that's, you're talking about 42 tackles for loss. That means they changed the line of scrimmage as well. They force people to be in, 2nd and long, 3rd and long. And I think that's a big part of what Georgia has done, is they've been really good on 1st and 2nd down, and sometimes not getting the 3rd down, or even if they didn't get the 3rd down, it's 3rd and 5 or less. And if Kentucky wants to be in this ball game and, possibly give their offense more opportunities, then they got to force some 3rd and longs and force Georgia to throw the football and force the guys on the outside to grow up and win.
If we score a non-offensive touchdown, do we win the game?
I'm not answering that question.
All right, guys, good stuff. Good to see you again. Hey, we want to see you on Saturday, Sanford Stadium. 3:40, I think, is the kick. It may be 5 minutes after that once the game in front of us finishes, but they're looking at a 3:40 kick. We're on the air with you at 11:30 on the Bulldog Sports Network, and both of these guys on the screen will be on the radio with us, and you'll be able to hear a lot of good stuff from them all day on Saturday. We hope to have you with us on the Bulldog Sports Network. Georgia and Kentucky, number 1 versus number 11 on Saturday. We'll see you then, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.